Hey everybody, thank you for coming on board to my channel. And today's adventure beyond New Orleans, I'm taking you to Vicksburg, Mississippi, home of the Vicksburg National Military Park. So let's go. Go. Vicksburg is about a 4-hour drive northwest of New Orleans. I decided to take the drive up there and meet my son for a couple days. Vicksburg rises above the Mississippi River and was a strategic stronghold during the Civil War. It took us 2 days to explore the military park there. So we stayed in 2 different bed and breakfasts. So come along with me as I share this adventure with you. So let's go. Our first night in Vicksburg was spent at the Duff Mansion bed and breakfast. Our room was separate from the main house with a beautiful patio and pool. Our room had 2 beds, a little kitchenette, a front sitting room, and was very comfortable, and we slept very soundly. The next morning, we enjoyed a wonderful breakfast and then took a tour of the mansion, guided by a wonderful tour guide dressed in tradition. The tour was great, and we learned a little history of the home. We learned a little history of the original occupants, and we even had a little ghost story. I just loved all the uniqueness of this mansion, the bed and breakfast, and the stories were amazing. I could see myself living here in the times she made it come to life. After the tour, we got ready to go to the battlefield. Vicksburg was vital to victory. President Jefferson Davis knew how important this town overlooking a Mississippi River bend was to the Confederacy. To him, Vicksburg, Mississippi was the nail-head that holds the South's 2 halves together. At the start of the Civil War, Confederates controlled the Mississippi River south of Cairo, Illinois. They fortified strategic river points, like Vicksburg, with its riverfront artillery batteries and a ring of forts whose 172 guns guarded all land approaches. They leveraged the natural maze of swamps and bayous for defense. They used its routes for supplies and troops. Vicksburg was the South's lifeline. But Vicksburg could be the North's lifeline. The Federals could pass troops and supplies into the South by road, river, or rail. They could isolate Texas, Arkansas, and most of Louisiana, which would cut off the Confederate supplies and the recruits. As the war progressed, federal, naval, and military forces gained control of more of the Mississippi River, fighting south from Illinois and north from the Gulf as they closed in on Vicksburg. President Abraham Lincoln knew Vicksburg was the key. The war can never be brought to a close until that key is in our pocket, he said. He knew how valuable this town on a high bluff was to the Union. The Federals captured post after post, and then they set their sights on Vicksburg. The fall of Dixie. This miniature layout of the Vicksburg battlefield depicts the area in May through July of 1863. 2,300 hand-painted Union and Confederates manned the lines. The Confederates commanded the ridge, which was a natural defense position. The fortifications had been prepared in anticipation of the attack from the east. After the failure of the frontal attacks, Grant decided to set up the siege operations. With Union troops on their east side, the Union Navy on the Mississippi River, and north and south of the city, and the Union artillery and soldiers on the west bank, Vicksburg was surrounded. After 47 days of bombardment and running out of food, Vicksburg surrendered. My son and I spent about 2 hours here at this museum before we headed to the visitor center of the battlegrounds itself. So this really gave us a good idea of what we were anticipating to see and able to compare the two. Touring the actual battlefield, I suggest starting at the Visitor Center, where exhibits and a 20-minute film explain the siege of Vicksburg. With a map pointing out key points of interest, begin the 16-mile drive. We downloaded the Vicksburg Battle app, and we also listened via our cell phone. And this was an amazing way to see the battlefield and listen to the stories. We got out of the car several times to walk paths and see where soldiers actually fought. We spent 2 days touring this park and visiting 2 historical museums while we were there. On our second night, we stayed at Corner's Mansion Inn Bnb. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. Beautiful sunroom where the front desk is to sign in. Isn't it beautiful? This is where we had breakfast the next day. Here we are on our front porch of our little room. Double beds, little seating area. And the next day we had breakfast. It was delicious. Then we took a tour of the house to see many little artifacts that had been collected, some of the original furniture, paintings, chandeliers, carpeting, beds. Some of the rooms you were able to stay in. From the front porch, you could see the Mississippi River. Here's some more beds. Some of the guests stayed in some of these rooms. Some antique dolls. A little place to go to the bathroom, chamber pot. We were able to take a little stroll of the grounds. Amazing, beautiful greenery. We enjoyed our stay here so much. From here, we decided it was time to go and see the second part of the Vicksburg National Battlefield. Here's the bluff overlooking the Mississippi River. The USS Cairo Gunboat and Museum is one of 7 shallow draft ironclads that was built, the first ship to be lost to a torpedo in December of 1862. It spent 100 years on the bottom of the Mississippi River, and it was raised in December of 1864. The restoration project completed in 1984. The paddle wheel was the propulsion system, and the pilot house was kind of interesting and protected with iron. Next to the USS Cairo is Vicksburg National Cemetery. Of the nearly 17,000 Union soldiers buried here, about 13,000 are unknown. Established in 1866, the cemetery is also the final resting place for veterans of the Spanish-American War, World War I and II, and the Korean conflict. It was closed to burials in 1961. Many Confederates who died during the siege are buried in nearby Cedar Hill Cemetery. It's a very solemn place and very pretty, very interesting place. October of 1917, the second largest blue-gray reunion took place at Vicksburg, Mississippi, billed as a National Memorial Reunion and Peace Jubilee. It brought together veterans of the Union Army of the Tennessee and the Confederate Army of the Mississippi. Over 12,000 veterans were accommodated on the battlefield. Thus our second day came to an end. What a wonderful 2 days we spent in Vicksburg, Mississippi. So I hope you found this particular adventure interesting. And maybe you might want to go to Vicksburg to explore the whole area. We still didn't touch everything that was there, so I might go back just for that. But hey, if you like this video or you want to see more, please give this a thumbs up and subscribe. It helps my channel to grow, and I release one every week, and this is beginning videos. So remember, Joe Knows Adventure in, around, and beyond New Orleans. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.